This episode of Midco Sports Magazine is presented by Shields and Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Hello, welcome again to Midco Sports Magazine. We've got three stories this month on athletes who are driven, who have been able to take that plan or that possibility in their head and make it happen. We have a high school hockey player, and she has used her talent and inner drive to take her from South Dakota to a top-tier junior program in St. Louis and next on to college hockey in the Ivy League. We have a college wrestler at North Dakota State, already the best in the Big 12 and an NCAA place winner, setting his sights next on national and international competition. And we start with a college basketball player who actually brought some international experience with her when she came to the University of South Dakota and has since become one of the greatest hoopers that the university has ever seen. Here's Jayelson with the story.
It's a sound that is synonymous with basketball. It may not define Nicole Seekamp, but it most certainly describes her.
Sometimes I do like to get away from basketball, but definitely, if there is really nothing to do, then I do like just going around to the gym and just mucking around.
Seekamp's love for the game may have been planted in her home country of Australia, but for the last 5 years, it's been nurtured at the University of South Dakota.
I tell people it's probably the best 5 years of my life just because of the journey we've had as a school and as a basketball team, but then just all the relationships I've formed with people here in the community, teammates, and just from even other players that I've kind of met along the way. And so, I wouldn't trade this for anything in the world.
Those who watch Seekamp's storied career unfold wouldn't trade her either. Amy Williams had a front row seat for every one of the big-time shots and dazzling defensive plays Seekamp made for the Coyotes, and admits she was often as amazed by what she saw as anyone else. But Williams also says that her star players' value ran much deeper than numbers.
What people don't see and what has continued to amaze me throughout her career is just watching her behind the scenes and in practice, the way she puts her arms around our freshmen and talks and teaches, and it allows me as a head coach to be able to just kind of move forward, move on to the next drill, continue with practice, because she's going to take care of cleaning up some of the teaching points that need to be made. And it's just such an incredible treat for our coaching staff to have that fifth coach out there helping us develop the underclassmen.
Every player like that deserves a happy ending. But it didn't always appear that Seekamp was going to get hers. Due to an NCAA eligibility ruling that was handed down before she ever played a game at South Dakota, most, including Seekamp, thought the 2014-15 season was going to be her last. So when the Coyotes claimed their first regular season Summit League title, but came up short in the conference tournament and were then eliminated in the second round of the Women's National Invitation Tournament, it was hard not to feel a little unfulfilled.
I was a little disappointed. We did have a great year, and everyone did say that, we went 26-8, which is a really good record. But I think, we knew that we were a much better team than what we kind of finished that year out like, and I think everyone kind of felt like we could have done better.
Fortunately, that disappointment would be short-lived. Several weeks after the season, Seekamp learned her career wasn't over after all.
We're so glad the NCAA did take another look, and they agreed with us that it was certainly, kind of a little too egregious punishment, and they agreed and gave her her fourth year of eligibility, which we were all super excited about.
And I just remember that I just had a deep breath of relief, and I was like, whew, finally I know what I'm going to be doing.
Not only would Seekamp be able to play, she'd be eligible for all but the first 2 games of the 2015-16 season.
2 games is nothing. That's what I thought then. At that point, I was thinking that 10 games would be nothing. I'm thankful that that wasn't the end for me or my teammates, and I think that kind of was a motivator for this year. When I did find out that I got my year back, I think we were all a little bit kind of refocused, and we didn't want that to happen again.
With Seekamp back in the mix, the Coyotes and their group of super seniors would be considered one of the favorites in the Summit League. And once number 35 returned to the lineup, they played like it. Seekamp set career highs in points, assists, and steals in leading the Coyotes to a 15-1 conference record and their second straight Summit League title. The team reached the tournament championship game for the fourth consecutive year on the strength of a program-best 16-game winning streak. But just as it had the year before, South Dakota ran out of magic at the wrong time. The dream of returning to the NCAA tournament was dashed.
It was a shock at first. I mean, I won't lie, I obviously cried about it. It was upsetting just because that was a goal that we've had the whole year. That was what we kind of wanted our whole season to end with. So for that not to happen, it did hurt a little bit.
If there was a silver lining, it was that Ccamp and her teammates had already earned the right to keep playing. They would have one more chance to do something special together.
We know we had an automatic berth into the WNIT, and so I think, we let all our emotions out in that locker room with each other, and then, once we left there, I think that we really tried to refocus our efforts. Once we got back onto practice, we had, I think, a rejuvenated energy to us, and that we wanted to keep our season alive. Our theme this year was grit, which is greatness resides in toughness together, and we knew that we just had to stick together and things will work out for us.
The Coyotes opened the WNIT with a hard-fought win over Creighton, then went on the road and beat Minnesota 101-89. Ccamp delivered 18 points and a career-high 14 assists, in what she says was one of the team's grittiest performances of the season.
Not only defense, but offensively, we just enjoyed playing with each other. We were getting excited about plays, and just the whole team was having fun with it. And so I think from that game, that was kind of when we knew that we could go pretty far in this tournament.
3 on 3, 1, 2, 3, break!
Once we played Oregon, that was the game where I was like, I don't think we're going to lose this.
As it turned out, she was right. On Saturday, April 2nd, South Dakota, in front of a Dakota Dome crowd of 7,415, defeated fellow mid-major heavyweight Florida Gulf Coast 71-65 to become the first Summit League team in any sport to win a national tournament. Ccamp, who averaged 14 points, 8 assists, and 5 rebounds in the 6 games, was named the tournament's most valuable player.
Once that buzzer went off, we were like, wow, we actually did it. Our whole season, this is what it's come to, and we managed to finish it successfully. And I think everyone felt that kind of pride in USD and with the women's basketball team, so it was incredible. It's just something that I'm definitely going to remember for the rest of my life, and just to look back on that in a few years is just going to be amazing.
Ccamp closed her Coyote career as one of 2 players with at least 2,000 points and 500 rebounds. She's second in program history in scoring, assists, and steals. Her 130 career starts ranks number 1.
She is the most selfless superstar that you've ever had. You hear it all the time about you need your best players to be the hardest workers. You need the best players to be the best teammates. And she truly epitomizes that. I mean, she just is sacrificed her own personal accolades and what she's capable of to maintain a team chemistry and a balance in our program. And I just am so grateful for all she's done to establish the healthy culture that we now have in Coyote women's basketball.
Players like that deserve a happy ending, and Nicole Seekamp ultimately got hers.
And joined by Jayelson. And first of all, it's going to be strange not seeing Ccamp on the court for the Coyotes next year, isn't it?
Yeah, well, she's been there forever, right? And then you kind of come to grips with the idea of her being gone, and then all of a sudden she's back, and now gone again.
All right. And somewhat incredibly to us anyway, she was not taken in the WNBA draft, but there's still that possibility. What's going to be next?
Yeah, well, I think first and foremost, it was a surprise. I think she expected to be taken. I think everybody who's watched her play for the last 4 seasons thought she was going to be taken at some point in that draft. and it didn't happen. And so I think there's a little bit of disappointment there on her side, certainly. But there is still some opportunity there in the WNBA. She could still be invited to a camp, which I think she fully expects to be. Other than that, there are professional options that she could pursue overseas. She's obviously from Australia. She would be a very popular player if she went back there and played there. But there's leagues all around the world that women can go at and play at a very high level. And so it's just a matter of where, I don't think if.
All right. Thanks, man.
You bet.
Nice work. Jayelson. Well, up next, a young female hockey player with an unbelievable drive to be the best that she can be, and it will take her from South Dakota to college at Cornell this fall.
Midco Sports Magazine on Midco Sports Network is presented by Shields and Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Welcome back to Midco Sports Magazine. Well, a local college not long ago had a slogan, something to the effect of "you can go anywhere from here." And our next story is about a young woman who is a shining example of that kind of spirit. Here is our producer Josh Muntz with the story on Hanna Mutschelknaus.
Tonight it's Little Legends. It's for kids 8 years and under. Some of them have played hockey before, and others this is just their first time getting on the ice. They just look forward to it every time. We do like different drills to work on their skating, and other times we do like little skill work stuff, and then we always make sure to have some competition in there because I think that's fun. My name is Hanna Mutschelknaus. I go to Brandon Valley High School and I play hockey. I used to be a dancer, and then my brother went traveling all the time, and he was staying in hotels, and he was just hanging out with friends, and I was like, that looks like a lot of fun. So I was like, I'd give it a try, and ended up really liking it. I like the quick, fast game. I like the traveling with your teammates. I like being with friends. I like all of the life lessons it's taught you. So I started playing for Sioux Falls, which is South Dakota hockey. Over the years, as I developed, I decided that if I wanted to play hockey at the next level, that I would need to play outside of South Dakota, just because hockey is not very popular here, and it's growing, but it's not as big as Minnesota and other states. I chose to go to St. Louis because I wanted to play hockey at the next level. I wanted to improve, and I wanted to play college hockey. It was a big step. It was the game is a lot faster. I was playing with girls all my age, whereas in Sioux Falls I was playing with girls ages 4th grade to 18, so that was a big difference.
So there are no Tier 1 girls programs in the state, but recently myself and Matt Tobin have started a Tier 1 program, the Junior Stampede. Hannah's younger brother plays on that. Because there are no girls programs and she just travels on the weekend, since it's a commuter program, she'll practice with the boys, the U16 team, during the week. It's a good practice environment for us. They're fast, they're quick, they're strong, they're physical. It makes us better in every aspect of our game. It's definitely more aggressive, more physical. They're not afraid to hit us, and that's totally fine. I'm all for it. I get up at 5:15, and I head to tea, and I'm working out around 6:30. From the gym I go to school, and then straight from school I get out at 2:30. I go straight to hockey practice at 3:15. After hockey practice, I go home and I study and get ready for the next day. I think that's what makes Hanna so remarkable, and why I'm such a huge fan of her is, she takes difficult classes. She's #1 in her graduating class. She'll be valedictorian. She manages all of this while she maintains a pretty grueling schedule. For me, it's not such a difficult schedule. I really enjoy it, and it's all I've ever done. Cornell is in Ithaca, New York. It's about 4 hours outside of New York City.
I always knew I wanted to go to school that was good in their academics as well as their athletics. And so when we were looking around at schools, my coach mentioned Cornell, and so I looked into it and I went out there for a visit, and I really enjoyed the coaches there.
There's one other girl that went for, I think a year, but other than myself, which I don't even know if I technically count because, I went to boarding school when I was 12. Hanna is really the first one that has done this. She's played through the Sioux Falls Youth Hockey Association. She's played on the girls' teams here. She still lives here. She didn't move away to go to school, and she balances her studies and everything with that. So she's really the first one that has kind of accomplished this feat. I think she'll look back and, even when it's hard, and realize, what she's gaining, and a lot of that has to do with what she's learned and endured through the sport.
Going forward, I'm optimistic, I'm happy, I'm ready to see what the future holds for me.
Cornell University is in Ithaca, New York, and the school does not offer athletic scholarships, but the academic standards are very high. Hanna thinks she wants to get into a general field of medical study, something with possibilities that could take her anywhere in the next phase of her life. Up next on Midco Sports Magazine, wrestlers are known for being some of the most driven athletes on the planet, and we will meet a young man in Fargo who has used that drive to work his way from NDSU to Team USA.
Midco Sports Magazine on Midco Sports Network is presented by Shields and Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Welcome back to Midco Sports Magazine, and our next driven athlete is a wrestler at North Dakota State University, and he's had a great college career, but his best days might still be to come on the mat.
If you go far enough north in the state of Minnesota, you will hear a personal description that at first could sound derogatory, but it's actually worn as a badge of honor by those who hail from that part of the country. The term is Jack Pine Savage. As an insult, it means you're a hick from the sticks, but as a compliment, it means you're a self-reliant outdoorsman. Hayden Zillmer got the nickname and the associated Twitter hashtag from a conversation he had with a grad student at North Dakota State who was working on his doctorate degree in psychology.
He was talking to me and he goes, a lot of the guys in the room think that he was looking for the word, and he goes, well, a savage. And then I just started laughing. I said, yeah, the Jack Pine, and then so it stuck like that.
Well, honestly, it seems to be a perfect description for Zillmer, a humble, quiet kid from a small town that loves to fish and hunt ducks and deer and do stuff outside. On the mat, he is a fierce competitor, not real concerned with being flashy or famous, but quite serious about sticking your face through the floor.
He's a little different of a guy. He'd rather be out hunting and fishing. A guy's probably never had a sip of alcohol in his life. I'm probably 100% sure on that. So it's just that lifestyle that he lives. It just represents the success that he's probably had at such a young age.
Zillmer grew up in Crosby, Minnesota, and he did not stop growing when he got to North Dakota State.
Normally you're recruited to a weight class and you're wrestling that weight class, and maybe up one or so and maybe even down, but no, I spread out a lot.
He wrestled in high school at 130 pounds. He was recruited by the Bison to be a 141-pounder, and he ended up at 184 pounds. And that made recruiting a little tricky for the coaching staff for a couple of years.
We had to go in and fill some new spots as he continued to grow, but maybe it helped give him an advantage being able to learn the wrestling side versus when you see some of the upper weights, you see a little more hand fighting and a little more tactic.
Zillmer qualified for the NCAA tournament 3 times. He earned All-American honors as a junior by finishing 6th. He just completed his senior season with a 32-6 record, and he racked up 105 wins in his college career. And when that ended in mid-March, Zillmer just kept on going, switching styles and getting himself ready for the U.S. Olympic Greco-Roman team trials. Basically, to oversimplify it, in freestyle or college wrestling, you can attack the legs. In Greco-Roman, you cannot.
it's a different sport when you think Greco-Roman wrestling versus collegiate wrestling. But the reality is it's the training, it's the preparation, and making sure we have the foundation to allow him to go out there and compete well. And that's really what it came down to when he went to the trials.
Well, Zillmer had not wrestled Greco style in about 3 years, so he took a week after the NCAAs to run and rest and recoup, and then he started the world's quickest Greco training 3 days before the competition.
I wrestled that first match at the last chance qualifier, and everything kind of came back pretty good.
So he won his weight class at that last chance qualifier, and that earned him a spot at the Olympic team trials in Iowa City. There, he lost in the quarterfinals, but that was only a temporary setback. Zillmer roared back through the consolation bracket, got a 7-1 win, and then a pin in the consolation semifinals, and then a comeback 2-1 victory to capture third place and a spot on the U.S. national team.
They gave us about a 20-minute rest period. By the time that was up, we were just back down in the chute, ready to wrestle again, and it was good. It was fun, and it was it was exciting. So
what most people don't know is he knocked off 2 world team members to make the national team and position himself for an opportunity potentially down in Rio here.
This August, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil will host the Summer Olympic Games. And in the next few months, Zillmer will split time between Fargo and Minneapolis and the Olympic Training Center in Colorado, staying ready just in case. Right now, he is the backup to the backup in his weight class. And he might not, most likely will not, get his Olympic chance this summer. But there is a chance every year to compete in the World Championships, and Zillmer can look down the line and see himself in the 2020 Olympic Games in Tokyo. In fact, he can see himself keeping at this for the next decade or more, if that's what it takes.
Well, to ultimately be an Olympian, Olympic champ, be a world champ, we're going to win a world medal. Just keep chipping away, and hopefully that'll happen.
Our thanks to Hayden and to Hanna and to Nicole Seekamp, and thank you for watching Midco Sports Magazine. You can find all the archives of the show on YouTube.
This has been Midco Sports Magazine, presented by Shields and Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.